What's up, guys? It's Coach Grant with First Down Training, and today we're going to be breaking down 3 tips for taller wide receivers to be successful and some 3 things that they should emphasize and try to add to their game. So I hope this video helps you guys out. I hope it can teach you a few new things and a few benefits of being actually a taller wide receiver. Now, also, fellas, we just released our wide receiver gym workout plan 4.0. So this is a way more advanced wide receiver gym workout schedule with the exact sets, reps, and examples of each exercise you should be doing as a wide receiver to improve leg stability, ankle stability, leg strength, explosiveness, everything that's going to tie into being an actual wide receiver with on-field play. So check out that very first link in the description below if interested, fellas. Let's get started. So now, first route here is going to be this kind of like come back and go, stop and go route here from Julio Jones. Now, the main thing I want to get across to you, fellas, that if you are a taller wide receiver like Julio Jones is, right? Obviously pretty big guy, 6'4", 6'5", however big he is. He's a vertical threat. No matter where the ball is, no matter where you lined up on the field, you are a threat downfield. You are a threat to just run past this DB because you are always a threat of a jump ball or a 50-50 ball or just a deep fade ball because we want a big target to throw to on those deep fade balls, especially in the red zone. And we're going to get to that and how you guys can get more separation on that in a second. So when you guys are running routes, you have to be aware of that. You have to understand that you are a vertical threat. So every single route that you should run, you should be trying to press vertical to try to get this DB to alert, try to get him to backpedal, try to get him to bail so we could get more separation. So in this specific case, he's going to be running this like comeback and go route, selling like he's running a comeback. So leading into the comeback, because he's on the taller side, every single route that you run as a taller guy, whether it's a hitch, comeback, whatever, you have to push vertical. You have to be trying to get this DB to backpedal. You have to be, and how do we do that, by the way? Running in full stride, running in full speed, keeping a good pad level. All of those things will self-fade. All of those things tell this DB that you are running deep. So we want to make myself unpredictable with my routes. Now, when you are running a double move, you still want to try to emphasize the same things because you want to make your routes look the exact same. You can't do one thing on a double move and then another thing on just a regular single cut because that's a tell to the DB. Make your routes look the same. And you can do that by selling fade. So leading up into this comeback and go route, what does he do? He's keeping the same stride, good speed, good pad level, using that he is a vertical threat downfield, even when he has to run a vertical type route. So now when he puts the brakes on, after running full speed, after putting this DB on alert, what do you think he's going to do? He's going to overreact because he knows that he was backpedaling. He was in that oh shit mode where he had to turn his hips almost and run. Usually, this DB's staying actually decently patient, but most of the time when you're doing this and you're selling this actual route, selling the fade, that DB is really going to bail, especially a younger DB on the younger side of things. So when we put the brakes on, that forces an overreaction out of him. He wants to drive on this ball as quick as he can because he knows you sold him on the fade. So that's what can get a separation on a double move. When you start running into a break and then you start chopping your feet and then you break down, that's not putting that DB on alert. But when you're running full speed and you put the brakes on and just sit down right now, that forces that reaction out of the DB. And that reaction, that overreaction, I guess you could say, is how we get separation on double moves and any kind of vertical route when we are already a vertical threat by being a tall guy. Let's play this thing again, full speed one more time. This is textbook right here from Julio Jones. This is a great job putting the brakes on and getting that DB to drive and getting separation on that comeback and go route. Pretty good job of selling fade. Okay, so now we talked about it. You're always a what? Always a vertical threat. So what happens when you actually have to run this vertical route? And now you see where they're at. They're on the 30-yard line. So there's going to be like kind of a red zone fade. Not so much a red zone fade, but they're pretty close to the red zone. So they're like a goal line fade. Not so much goal line, but they're throwing it to the goal line, if you will. So it's a quicker fade. We have to be ready as a taller guy for a jump ball. If you're a taller wide receiver and you can't win a 50-50 ball, we don't really have a place for you on the field. Because as a taller guy, you're probably not going to move that well. You know, we saw that last clip of Julio Jones. And when I say move that well, I mean you're not going to probably move as well as like a guy who's short like me, who's like a slot receiver type guy, who's a little bit on the quicker side of things. He's a slot. He can get in and out of cuts faster just because he's shorter. He's closer to the ground. That's just how it works. Julio Jones is kind of a freak. The way he moves is incredibly impressive, but not all of us can move like that, obviously. So you got to be ready for little separation in some cases, but still being able to win. And that's what I want to include here. So this is Marvin Harrison Jr. out of Ohio State. He's a pretty big guy. He's a pretty tall wide receiver. Doesn't get the most separation on this, but you see how he's still able to win on that fade ball. That is what we want to try to get comfortable doing. Because if you're a tall guy, I'm putting you on the outside and I'm going to throw you that fade. We get in the red zone, maybe it's first down. I'm gonna take a chance. I'm gonna try to throw you that 50-50 ball and trust that my guy's gonna go up and get it. But to be that playmaker as a taller guy, and again, when you have size, you have such an advantage because you pass that like quote unquote eye test, right? Like, so college coaches, they see a guy who's, 6'3", 6'4", 6, and again, it depends on what level of football you're playing at, what tall is, but they see that tall receiver and they're like, man, that's a guy. He looks like a football player, but can he play? Because if they were trying to get the tallest players on their team, they'd be recruiting basketball guys. They want the best football players. So if you can tie that in to actually having height, actually having size, you can be a really recruitable guy. So they're looking for these types of plays. If you're a high school wide receiver, you should be including these plays on your highlight tape. You should not be including the 3-step slant that you ran against cover 4 and you caught it and got a 7-yard gain. That's not a highlight. This is a highlight. This is what college coaches want to see. So when that QB throws the ball above the rim, you have to know how to actually catch that jump ball. So you want to make sure that we're going up strong. We have a strong grip because that DB is going to be playing your hands. Anytime that he has his back turned and it's a fade ball, he is taught to play those hands, whether it's like an over-the-shoulder catch or whether it's a jump ball. He's going to go rip at those hands and try to knock that ball out. So you have to go up strong. So when I go up strong, now my main goal is to be able to secure it. So you see how Harrison, when he goes up and secures it, he rips it away. He's ripping that ball and putting his body between the defender and the football. That is what you want to do on that jump 50-50 ball. Whether it's right on the goal line, whether it's just a quick 30-yard fade, you have to go up strong, secure it, rip it. That's the main keys. Let's play this thing again, full speed one more time. So make sure, fellas, if you are on the taller side of things, be ready to get a lot of jump balls thrown your way and be ready to secure it and win that 50-50 chance. Play full speed. Again, not a ton of separation on that release. And sometimes, fellas, even if you do have a good release, this is going to be your life as maybe a taller, slower side of things, guys. DBs are shorter. Naturally a little bit shorter, and they have great recovery speed, especially at the next level. So you're not going to get a ton of separation. Doesn't mean we shouldn't try for it. Doesn't mean we just run off the ball, but we got to get comfortable working with maybe about a yard of space. That's enough. That should be plenty if you're on the bigger side of things. Let's get to this next clip. So now, next clip here is from Demaryius Thomas, and this ties into that same thing. You are a vertical threat. So this is more so I want to talk about his press release here, and he's running like kind of a one-step slant, but it ties into the same idea that you're a vertical threat off the line. This is definitely a release you could add to your tool bag. This is a wide step release. So a wide step release is where you step with your back foot wide outside of the DB's frame, try to get him to jump outside or maybe just hesitate outside and think that it's a speed release. So let's play this full speed. So Thomas does this little prep step with the front foot, steps wide and gets Cromartie to sit to the outside. And you see the amount of separation he's able to get right here. That's ultimately from being a vertical threat off the line. So Demaryius Thomas is not a short guy. He's a very big wide receiver, big outside receiver. But again, you are a vertical threat. So no DB, when he's playing man-to-man against a bigger guy, wants to get that head-top fade, wants to get mossed. They don't want it to happen. That's like their biggest nightmare. So they're going to be a little bit anxious to play that fade. Everything's a fade until it's not a fade, even when it comes to your releases. So you see with his wide step, what does he do here? He's stepping outside the frame. He's attacking vertically on this DB. His hips and shoulders are to the outside. This looks like, to a certain extent, a speed release. When you guys are doing this wide step, you want to make it look like you are literally just taking off and running to the outside on some kind of speed release. Now, some of you might be thinking, well, it's not going to be fast. Maybe it's slow. That's a little uncomfortable to do that. That's why you need something called a prep step to add to your release bag. So let's look at this again. Watch what he does with his front foot. A lot of wide receiver coaches who don't know what they're talking about will say that that's a false step. That is a prep step is in my lingo. Some people call it a gather step. It's pretty much just a step for balance. So you take that step and you step like a little bit backwards. Not a lot. You are not stepping all the way back, like even with your back foot. It is literally maybe like half a step behind you. But that little half a step allows you to have some balance. It gets your feet underneath your frame so you can push off of that step and throw your hip, actually step wide, and actually sell the speed release. So if you're a taller side of things guy, and let's say you're lined up, you got your left foot up, let's say the quarterback's to the left side, you take that little prep step with your left foot and you're pushing off of it. You are pushing off of it to throw your hip, to throw this step, and that can get that DB to jump out wide and get you some separation. fellas, you have to make everything look like a fade when you're a taller guy. You have to be a salesman with your routes, know that we are a vertical threat, and be able to win those 50-50 opportunities. It all comes down to those three things. Let's play this thing again, full speed one more time. Great job by Demarius Thomas, selling to the outside, stepping outside that DB's frame, and then winning on that slant route. Great job after the catch too, showcasing that big play capability. All right, fellas, I really want to thank you for watching. I really appreciate it. If you guys have any questions at all, don't hesitate to leave those in the comment section below. Always appreciate the feedback, you guys. And again, fellas, if you'd like a 28-day wide receiver gym workout plan, all the advanced wide receiver gym workout exercises you should do with sets, reps, and an example of each exercise, check out that very first link in the description below. I'll see you guys next time.